Disclaimer. Read at your own discretion. I used to have weird dreams when I was younger. I didn't think anything of them at first, until they started coming true. My dreams began as warnings, simple premonitions about bad things that may potentially happen. Nothing was ever set in stone. Well, not until my parents died. You see, I had dreamed about their deaths for weeks before it happened. I had told them every single detail about the coming day, but they didn't listen. I was 7 at the time, so of course, no one really believes a child when they say that their parents are going to die, right? Well, the day of the accident was dark, cold, and rainy. The roads were slick from rain which had fallen the previous night. My parents were driving 5 miles over the speed limit on the highway coming into town when they hit a patch of black ice. Their car went off of the side of the road and into the river below. I watched them drown for weeks before it actually happened, so I know they suffered, even if people tell me they didn't. Things started to get weirder after my parents passed away. I would hear them calling my name in the middle of the night. I would see flimsy, white figures walking down the hallway, causing the floors to creak. But nothing freaked me out more than when I saw my parents while attending their funeral. Their translucent bodies were standing beside me while I was staring at their corpses. So, that was the day my grandfather told me I was sensitive to the supernatural. I admit to not understanding what it meant at the time due to my age, but over the years, I have adapted to it. I have adapted to seeing people die before it happens, just like I have adapted to seeing dead people, which led me to starting a business dedicated to all things paranormal. My business started out as helping people seek closure with their deceased loved ones. However, after a few months of dealing with the sob stories, I decided to start taking on cases where people have gone missing due to paranormal circumstances. Hello. If you're reading this, then you've stumbled upon my guide to the paranormal. My name is Michael, a 24-year-old female who has been dealing with this stuff her whole life. The fact that you are currently in possession of this guide means that I am missing. The last known location of this book was at a place called Worlington Lake, which means you are there. So let me tell you about the crazy things that led me to this place. I was hired on the 1st of January by Trisha Johnson, a local woman distraught by the situation of her sister's disappearance. Trisha described her sister, Marcia, as a laid-back woman who started acting weird a few days after her fiancé's death, claiming to see her fiancé everywhere. Marcia claimed to have received a phone call from Abigail, her fiancé, on the night of her disappearance. Trisha, attempting to make her sister come back to reality, told her that it was all in her head, but something about the conversation stuck with Trisha, especially when Marcia vanished. I started my investigation on the 2nd of January. Trisha let me into Marcia's apartment, where I found a lot of brochures about Worlington Lake. It seems that Marcia was planning a trip to the lake with her fiancée Abigail, but that clearly didn't happen. Marcia left a note for her sister saying that she was going to be with her fiancé. Obviously, the lake seemed like a good place to start looking. I had Marcia's picture. I had all of the research about Worlington Lake, even though I knew the place really well. But now it was my job to find the missing woman and bring her back home safely. I do believe that Marcia saw her fiancé's spirit when she crossed over. However, I believe something far more sinister was happening. I remember the strange feeling of grief, A sense of loss that I hadn't felt since my parents died when I grabbed a hold of the brochures. I knew this to be Marcia's feelings, so I rushed back to my own apartment, gathered all of the necessary items for my trip, and set off for the lake. I arrived in the parking lot down the mountain from the lake. A sensation of dread washed over me when I stepped out of the car. I knew it wasn't the best sign, but I had made an obligation to my client. I would find her sister no matter what may happen. I grabbed my bags, my guide, and headed up the mountain toward the lake. When I reached the property line of the cabins, I saw Marcia's ghost walking into the forest nearby. There are many things to know about the paranormal world, so let's start with a few things to do and not to do. Rule 1. Never talk about the paranormal. There is always a time and a place to talk about the paranormal. There are specific people to talk about the paranormal too, and that isn't non-believers. Talking about the paranormal to people who are skeptics can lead you to a straitjacket in a mental institution. If the subject of paranormal things happens to come up in a conversation with someone, then trust your gut feeling. If you don't think that they are true believers, well, don't talk about it. When it comes to the paranormal, there are a lot of skeptical people. A lot of people who think that it is a bunch of nonsense, and as someone who sees what others cannot, just be careful with who you share information. Rain falls from the sky as a black, leather-bound book is placed on the log beside a young man. His normally tanned face is drained of all color. The black of his hair makes the pale of his skin an even more sickening shade of white. The man drapes a cloth atop the book as if to keep it protected while he looks to his friend sitting across from him. "Holy shit," he breathes out. "I think she's actually missing." "You really think some girl is missing because you found a stupid book with a sob story and rules about ghosts?" The friend scoffs. "Look, you really don't understand," he trails off. "What's there to understand? We came on a camping trip to get away from life for a little bit, and now you want to go looking for some chick who may or may not be real?" "Dude, she was my girlfriend." "Oh. Fuck."